All right, listen, we're going to talk a little bit about the scandal at the Veterans Affairs Administration. All sorts of trouble. Later on today, the House is going to vote on the VA Management Accountability Act. And what that's supposed to do is it's going to give Eric Shinseki, the guy who runs the place, the ability to fire the bureaucrats responsible for this scandal, where they've got all these waiting lists where people are dying waiting for treatment.
But first, they got to do a 3-week audit, which most people think is going to be a total catastrophe.
The House is?
No, I'm talking about Eric Shinseki.
Oh, good.
They're going to check themselves.
Yeah, they're going to go in and find out what's wrong, which I think we're ahead of the game with that.
Well, they're going to end up almost wrecking themselves here because apparently the president didn't know, or did he, that this VA scandal is now spreading like a wild virus through the United States. At minimum, we have 19 states now that we're looking at. And when you see this map in red, it is absolutely devastating to think that our veterans are being left on these medical waiting lists, not getting the care that they so deserve. You know, the expression, never leave a fellow soldier behind. Well, the president, commander-in-chief, seems to be doing just that. And apparently, he just found out about this on the news, these allegations. This is Jay Carney on that.
When you say these problems, the fact that there have been bureaucracies, if you mean the specific allegations that I think were reported first by your network out of Phoenix, I believe we learned about them through the reports. I will double check if that's not the case, but that's when we learned about them, and that's when, as I understand it, Secretary Shinseki learned about them.
Secretary Shinseki has known about them for years. The President of the United States, when he became president, the transition team with George W. Bush, they said essentially, look, the waiting lists, they're fake. You've got to do something about it. And then the president has come out a number of times and said, I'm going to do something about the problems and the red tape and things like that. One of the things that the White House is doing right now is they're saying we're 100% behind Eric Shinseki. Why would that be? Well, they say he's the guy in the job right now. He can fix the problems once they do the 3-week audit that Brian was talking about. Here's the thing. Eric Shinseki is the one guy who, if they fire, can go, look, I've been telling them for years that it was all screwed up. And for them to now say they didn't know, that's just crazy.
But he probably won't. I would add to this, too. The spin over the weekend is unbelievable. Dennis McDonough saying the president's madder than hell. He's the chief of staff, but he hasn't said anything. Then you had some on these panels, on these Sunday shows, saying, why are we going to these wars in the first place? Excuse me? We're debating on the need for war as opposed to the treatment for those who fight the war? You got to be kidding me. And wait for this one, and I'm sure it's going to be coming this week. Well, if the Bush administration knew about it, why didn't they fix it? Well, that was one thing. That is not allowed. You cannot go back now 5.5 years and say, well, if George Bush should have done it in 2007. Well, there were things done. And guess what? Secretary of Defense Gates for Bush administration went in there and just cleaned house at Walter Reed when he found out things were bad. He demanded answers immediately. There's been no quick action. Have you seen Secretary of Defense Hagel do anything?
But they didn't know. They're just finding out about this now, according to what Jay Carney just said. So the president didn't know. Does he also know every time you salute, shake the hand of a serviceman or woman in our nation who's been fighting for our freedom, you are shaking the hand of the veterans that are waiting for their care, and some of them don't have the opportunity anymore. This is Sally Barnes-Breen. She lost her father. He was a victim in this scandal, which is now nationwide, and this is what she has to say to our president.
If he called me tonight, I would simply say, you're a liar, I don't trust you, and if it was up to me, I would fire him, and I believe he's a part of it as well. He gave us nothing. Wow. All he wants to do is go on the mission and still continue to let the veterans die, including my pop, and I don't like you very much, Mr. President.
And we still have not heard from the President of the United States in over 3 weeks. But the House, as I said, is going to vote on this accountability bill later on today. 118 co-sponsors, including a number of Democrats as well. Extraordinarily, the Veterans Affairs Committee yesterday, for only the second time in history, has subpoenaed letters and email from and to Eric Shinseki and other VA officials over what happened in Phoenix. So, you know, given the fact that suddenly Judicial Watch is able to get a bunch of emails revealing what has happened in the past regarding that scandal, let's find out if these folks can get to the bottom of it.
And if we'll hear from the president April 28th, I believe when the president was in Manila was the last time he spoke on this. As we approach Memorial Day, this is absolutely gut-wrenching.